The woman in a critical condition in hospital after she was stabbed at Notting Hill Carnival had attended that event with her child. 3 people were stabbed yesterday at the annual event. Police have also said 15 officers were assaulted and 90 arrests were made on that first day. A heavy police presence is now expected today for the main parade as it passes through the streets of West London.
Well, on to Notting Hill Carnival now, where the festivities are truly underway, but also providing a huge policing headache for the Met.
Yes, earlier today, the Met published a list of the crimes committed at the Carnival yesterday, including sexual offences, assaults on police officers and even stabbings, with one woman being left in a critical condition.
Well, let's get the thoughts now of the former Met Police detective, Chief Superintendent Kevin Hurley. Kevin, it's pretty extraordinary to see the list of offences posted there online by the police, but also a more emotional statement too, saying time and time again, year and year again, what is supposed to be, well, in the case of yesterday, a family day, ended up with stabbings.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not surprised because I policed the Carnival for many years. Indeed, I used to be on an undercover arrest squad for a number of years, so I'm used to the violence that goes on there. Most people are not aware. You don't see much of it because the crowds are so dense, it's so noisy. And on a family day like we're seeing there now, it's absolutely fine. But as things liven up towards the evening, and certainly tonight, it becomes pretty much an unpoliced, lawless place. You certainly would not see me personally at the Carnival from now on because I don't regard it as a safe place to go.
What's the solution here then, Kevin? What's the solution here then, Kevin? Because we hear, up to 1 million people are descending on Notting Hill. Lots of people there just wanting to have a nice time, enjoy some good food, some good music and whatever. But then you also have residents having to board up their private property, businesses having to do the same. You have, unfortunately, stabbings and assaults and drug offences, etc., etc. Is there a compromise to be had here?
Well, murders some years. I mean, I can't offer a solution on this one. This is for politicians and local people to decide what's going to be done. Just from the police point of view, they try and put as many people out there in the field as they can. And they try and moderate some of the excesses that occur, certainly on the last night of the Carnival. But, I don't think there's going to be any solution. There's been talk in the past, it should move to Hyde Park and so on. But the issue on it is, there's just a huge number of people, is extremely noisy, a lot of drink, a lot of people who, not a lot, but there's a substantial number of youths who go along there who are relatively lawless in their behaviour. Mix all of that stuff in, you'll get trouble. I mean, if the police try and make an arrest any time from about 5 o'clock onwards tonight and it goes wrong, you'll end up with rioting. It's as simple as that. It's a tinderbox place, and it is a classic example of two-tier policing where a lot of offences are ignored and police will not act because they don't want to antagonise some of the elements in the crowd and end up inevitably with the rioting. I can tell you many times when I was there, I was called off with my arrest squads, or I'd be called to go and arrest someone in the midst of the crowd, and I'd say, well, I can do it, but I'll need 80 men. Do you want to risk what's going to happen next? And of course, senior police leadership would always say, "Oh, no, we'll leave it then." This is for serious offences I had, like knife-point robbery. It's the nature of the Carnival.
That's very worrying, and also just the number of police resources just for this one weekend. I do worry about crime elsewhere in the capital.
Just how revealing that is about the mindset of sort of how these decisions are made on the ground. Perhaps not an intentional level of two-tier policing, but just the reality that it could cause more trouble to do an arrest there, then it's worth. An extraordinary place to find ourselves in. Kevin Hurley, really appreciate your expertise, your experience there. Fascinating stuff. Former Met Police Detective, Chief Superintendent Kevin Hurley.
Yeah, I mean, you've got thousands of people in just a small space. One arrest could, kick things off.
Now, it's the second day of the Notting Hill Carnival, and more than 1 million people are expected to descend on West London today to take part in cultural celebrations full of vibrant colours and music, as you can see on your screen there. But every year it seems to be plagued by crime. 3 people were stabbed yesterday, with one now in a life-threatening condition. And so far, police have made over 90 arrests, and there have been 10 assaults already on police officers. Joining me now to discuss this is the former Detective Superintendent at the Metropolitan Police, Shabnam Chowdhury. Shabnam, always a pleasure to have you on the show. And we have this conversation, do we not, every single year. A lot of people say that Notting Hill Carnival is a part of London's rich cultural tapestry, brings in £300 million in revenue estimated per year, yet it does seem to be disproportionately plagued by violent crime, especially now, it seems, knife crime. Is it time to ditch Notting Hill?
Absolutely not, Martin. And as you say, it's a beautiful, vibrant cultural event that we've had now for decades, celebrated particularly by the Caribbean community to celebrate their roots here in the United Kingdom. Of course, there is trouble there most years. That goes without saying. There are always a small pocket, a minority of those that attend deliberately to cause trouble amongst themselves. There will be those that will go there with the intent of causing trouble amongst perhaps other individuals that they've got a gripe with. Absolutely awful to hear about this woman, the 32-year-old who's suffered life-threatening injuries. Let's hope she fully recovers, and let's also hope that those responsible are brought to justice. But what I would say is this, that those events, in the vast majority, the main are peaceful events. You will see a huge amount of vibrancy, which is playing out on your screens right now. And unfortunately, the media will play out that it is in the main violent and plagued by violence yourselves, as you've just said. But actually, that's a small percentage. If you compare that to the Leeds Festival last year, which had 100,000 revellers that attended those events, there were 78 arrests, which actually the proportion of that compared to Notting Hill Carnivals is actually somewhat bigger.
Yeah, but Shabnam, when you look at the types of arrests, nobody's getting stabbed at the Leeds Festival. Nobody's getting stabbed at Glastonbury. No one's getting stabbed at Wembley Stadium, where there are a comparable number of arrests, but for things like ticket touting or soft drug possession, the types of arrests tend to be typically quite different. And so you say there's a two-tiered aspect to this. One of our next guests, Mike Neville, he was a former Scotland Yard detective. He's coming on later in the show. He wrote a piece a few days ago saying that Notting Hill, you may have seen it, benefits from two-tiered policing because the police officers typically stand off and let things carry on in a way, for example, that would not be allowed to happen if it were, say, at a Millwall match. If a man was dancing in a sexually provocative manner to a WPC there, he'd get short shift, he'd be nicked within moments. Do you not think that the arrests are quite low at Notting Hill because the police stand off?
No, I don't think the arrests are quite low. And actually, Martin, if you look at policing of football events and football events itself, during the England matches, there's an increase of domestic violence by 26% when England draw a match. And then when you have
that might happen after Notting Hill.
It might happen after Notting Hill, but I'm talking about football. I'm just giving you a comparison. A 38% increase in when England are defeated. Does that mean that we should then stop football events? There are missiles thrown at police officers. There is abuse. There are drunks. There is football hooliganism. So that plays out across the field. 2 million revellers go to the Notting Hill Carnival roughly most years. It's the second largest carnival in the world after the Rio Carnival. It has a huge benefit to local businesses and those businesses that work hard all year round preparing. The police work very hard and closely with the organisers. The only time that they will ban these events will be if there is significant information and intelligence that there is a likelihood of serious violence about to occur or will occur, then the police will have to reconsider those carnivals. So no, I don't think it should be banned. It's a family event. It's awful that there is some violence there. Police actually manage it very well. And I think also the engagement aspect of policing is crucially important, particularly when you look at trust and confidence amongst communities, particularly the Black and the minority communities who are disadvantaged time and time again, such as stop and search, tasering, handcuffing of those individuals and the arrest of many. But let's hope tonight is a peaceful event and that the end of Carnival is a good one and that there are few arrests.
Totally agree. Let's hope it is peaceful, as indeed last night's events were described as mostly peaceful. Thanks for your opinions. Always a pleasure. Former Detective Superintendent at the Met, Shebnan Chowdhury. Thank you very much.